All right, thanks a lot. I'm aware that we are right up against lunch, and we only have 1 hour for lunch today, so I will shorten my talk to make it work. We've seen some amazing stuff in this session, so you also got a little brief preview here of what Beescape's all about, so I'm going to save some time with that. I'm Anthony. I direct the Geographics Lab, as Travis just said, and represent a team here, Lily Houtman, Dave McLaughlin, and Christina Grozinger. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is Lily's work in leading an evaluation of the tool that you just saw a little flavor of. I'm not going to go into what it does a whole lot, except to say that it's a spatial decision support system for pollinator health and habitats. And we've conducted 3 different user-centered design studies to date. I'm going to focus largely on the one we conducted this year in 2024 on usability and utility for this redesigned version of Beescape. In 2019, we did our first study. This was with an application that we had not been participating in terms of its design. It didn't really do very much for users. We found that out. We found that out in just trying to work with it once we joined the project team in geography. But we did conduct an assessment to kind of get our baseline. And the very short version of that baseline is that people didn't like it and didn't want to use it again. It's important to do this kind of science, however, though, so that you establish a baseline so you understand what you're actually working with, so it's not just going on vibes. Funding agencies actually would like us to test these things, and you can do empirical work to do that. This was really helpful for us also to get the entire project team on board with the need to focus on user-centered design. It's not something optional. So we were able to establish this nice baseline. Then in 2021, Tim Presby, I think is probably here. Yeah, there you are. So Tim, one of our grad students at Penn State, helped lead a needs assessment workshop with beekeepers, growers, conservationists, and scientists. We did a bunch of different tasks to try to elicit big picture challenges. We had them work with paper maps to elicit ideas for what kinds of data sets should be prioritized in a future interface. And we had them build and share with us some paper prototypes, which were really creative and interesting ways for us to rethink some of our project goals. There's an article about this too, led by Tim, if you want to read more about that. Don't have much time, so I'm going to go really quick. So this led to the design of a conceptual diagram for what we would actually create next. This is something that I drew in the winter, I think, of 2022. An annotated graphic for us to work on. It went through a bunch of different iterations, helped crystallize for our group what we should make, what we shouldn't make. Exposes some people's assumptions about how tools will work. It helped me to clarify kind of a vision for what might come next as well. As Dave just showed you a little second ago, the current prototype looks quite a bit like the thing that we envisioned. It allows people to select radii and actually irregular polygons as well around a given area to look at modeled pollinator habitat factors, including like spring forage, nesting quality. We have some iNaturalist data there of recent observations of certain kinds of flowering species, and as well as insects that are important pollinators. I'll show you more about this prototype in a minute. One of the things that came out of that workshop in 2021, though, was that the need to make something savable and actionable from the tool. So Lily actually worked on the initial design of this. This is a report card that people can print for a given area and give to somebody else. So a lot of our potential users we talked to mentioned that they would like to use this on behalf of somebody else that they know who would never use this kind of app, and to give them something that would tell them about their area. This also was inspired a lot by one of the some of the paper mock-ups people made, sort of like this, how do I stack up? How does my area compare? We have a lot of ideas for where this can go next, and we're currently writing a very large proposal about that, so I won't go too much detail, spoil that. So on to the 2024 evaluation. This is the main focus for the talk today. So Lily Houtman helped lead this. We recruited 43 beekeeper participants via email and social media invitations. Our PI in this project, Christina Grozinger, is very well connected with beekeepers in Pennsylvania in particular, so most of our participants are coming from Pennsylvania. We developed a task analysis and survey instrument using Qualtrics. We do some demographic assessment, task analysis that I'll briefly mention in a second, and then usability, utility metrics, and a little bit of open-ended stuff. So our participants are mostly well-educated. Some of them have used the previous versions of Beescape. 40s, 50s in terms of age. Beekeeping experience all over the place. Some of them are, have 40 years of beekeeping experience. It does definitely skews in the sort of 0 to 10 range, though. All right, so some of the tasks that we had folks do here, one of them was to do a walkthrough. So we actually need to make sure that people have tried most of the features, all of the features in the tool before we give them other types of tasks. So I like this approach a lot because it helps us verify that they've done something and they've actually experienced all the tools before we ask them to critique them. Task 2, we gave them a location and a radius size and said, hey, tell us what that says about that particular area. Again, this is kind of a check to make sure that they're actually using those tools correctly and that they get the answers that we're expecting them to have. In task 3, we gave a little bit more open-ended thing where we said, hey, we have an existing hypothesis, the scenario where a friend of ours has a theory about their bees being less productive in a given year due to poor conditions. Go ahead and evaluate that hypothesis. So we're telling them which hypothesis to explore. And then in task 4 is the most open-ended. This is one that's also egocentric, so you now select a region you're familiar with and give us a sense of how accurate you think our modeled habitat factors are for your apiary. So this is really the biggest target for us ultimately, but we have to build to that with these 4 tasks. So we're really excited to say that our usability results from the earlier evaluation in 2019 are way better than, they're way better now than they were in 2019. You're not going to be able to read all of this in the back, but these are very typical kind of usability metrics. Like I could use Beescape without technical support. These red dots indicate the median ratings for the same exact questions back in 2019. So we've gone to the right on all of these. This is what we want to see. Where you see purples, that's like an agree or strongly agree with any of these. These are all positive statements. So we have lots of agreement. That means we're doing well on usability. This is really affirming for us to have that. The same is true with our utility metrics. So you can think of utility as like some of these are, I would recommend using this for other beekeepers. I would like to integrate Beescape into my beekeeping workflow. I trust what I see in the interface. So it's not just, can I click through this and understand it in a basic way? It's like, would I use it long term? And again, if we compare our previous results, we've really made huge improvements in this area. There is one very weakly supported task in here. Beescape would help me meet other beekeepers. Sometimes I like to include a metric in these metric evaluations to make sure that we are measuring something correctly, because this was never a goal and never supported in either the first tool or the second prototype. So it's good to have a little gut check kind of thing in there. It's still improved a little bit, but this shouldn't be supported at all in the tool. So you don't have to do a lot of that, but a little bit of seeding in there I think is not a bad idea when running an evaluation, just to make sure that you're getting valid results. What works best in the tool right now, we had people rank some of these things. They like the modeled habitat factors, so nesting quality, floral resources. The map comes in a close second place. So here to the left, the ranking means that they most likely ranked that particular element as number 1, most preferred, with 7 being least preferred. At the least preferred end, we did not get great scores for the report card or the economic value measures that we added to this. One of the project team members is really interested in trying to figure out how to explain the economic impact of pollinator health on a given area. And so we tried to incorporate some of his data in this, but we're definitely not there yet on explaining to beekeepers why they would care about that. It's not a goal for many beekeepers that we've worked with to care about the money part, but we know that for policymakers, it's extremely important to be able to articulate how much a given area depends on pollinators. Our report card too, we realized in this that we need to give more actionable items to take away from something like that. For example, here are some plants to consider planting in your area to improve spring forage. It's certainly a goal in our next project. We also assessed whether or not we were meeting user expectations in terms of accuracy. Like, do the things you see in this map match your experiences with your apiary? And in general, the land use categories are seen as pretty good. Our climate data is also rated fairly highly. Floral resources gets a little bit iffier. The insecticide values that we post are not only hard for us to explain and hard for us to update, they are also hard for users to understand. So that's a big issue we got to deal with. And then, like I mentioned before, folks don't really know, at least in the users we tested, what to do with economic value measurements. I think it just doesn't, in many cases, doesn't relate to their what their priorities are. So preferences for the next steps in Beescape in the next minute and 21 seconds here. All right. We want to be able to visualize nearby apiaries on the map. This is a feature that a lot of beekeepers wanted to see. Of course, predict and visualize how scores will change in the future, so a predictive element is always desired. Review management tips for new beekeepers, so making this more of a recommender kind of system. Using Beescape on a mobile device, a little bit less preferred having discussion board. They don't want to talk to each other. View how data collection is helping scientists. Scientists always want to have this kind of question in there, and like actual beekeepers don't care about that. Export Beescape data, other tools. Again, this is our science team loves this, and no beekeepers want that at all. All right. So one of the things we've done to make a little bit of progress on this, and you'll see this now if you try it at beescape.psu.edu, is we have actually Dave McLaughlin, who's the main developer on this. You just saw him. He's been engineering a mobile version of Beescape. So we are making some progress on this right away. It's definitely not finished yet, but we're making some efforts in that regard. And I think I will wrap up here because we're really basically out of time. This iterative approach has really helped us make some noteworthy improvements. We can now demonstrate, but especially having made that baseline, that our updated prototype gives us a lot of measurable and actionable progress. The wireframing really helped us think outside of what our previous expectations were, and getting past those basic usability hurdles has let us now get to the point where we can start focusing on utility. All right. Please go give it a try, beescape.psu.edu. It's working right now. Hopefully we can hug it hard with the NACIS hug and break it. That'll also teach us a lot about how the project works. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.